evening, everyone. My name is Hannah McCrae, and I am an officer of the Student National Education Association here at UCF. I will be serving as the facilitator for tonight's session, along with my co-facilitator, Ms. Carla Sanabria. So before we continue, I would like to go over a few housekeeping rules. Please keep your mic muted unless the presenters ask you to turn it on and speak up. Type all of your questions in the chat box, and we will have a time dedicated to Q&A later on in the session. Today's presentation will be led by Kimberly Jacobson, Marissa Kaufman, and Stephanie Wyka, entitled Building Teacher Expertise. Without further ado, the School of Teacher Education and Student National Education Association presents Building Teacher Expertise.
Hi, welcome everyone. We are going to be getting started. We also have Natalie Cumby here from OCPS, so I wanted to give her a shout out as well. So we have a lot of OCPS representing tonight, and we are going to facilitate this session from Nearpod. So we're going to give you all a link to that, and so we'll certainly come back to the chat box when we'll have certain times and intervals where you'll use the chat box, but you'll be able to do a lot of our components from within the Nearpod. So we're going to put a link to that in, and if everyone can open that up, we're going to get started. Marissa's going to kick us off.
All right, welcome everyone. Like Kim said, we are super excited to have you all here. I did just pop the link to the Nearpod in the chat box. If you're having any issues accessing it, please feel free to just let us know in the chat box. Just to introduce myself, my name is Marissa Kaufman, and I am a program specialist with our professional learning department in OCPS, and I am co-facilitating today with Kimberly, and I'll give her a chance to introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Jacobson. I am with Evaluation Systems in OCPS and within the professional learning department. So excited to be here, and I'm excited to see so many people joining us. This is really cool.
Yes, and then we also have Stephanie Wyka, who is here with us as well.
Hi everyone, welcome. Really, Marissa and Kim are totally leading the show tonight, and we're leaving you guys in the best hands possible. But welcome, and we're so excited you're here learning more about how Orange County Public Schools can support you all in your future careers.
And I did just add the link to the Nearpod for you again. I'm going to share my screen for Chrome for you. So hopefully that way you can follow along a little bit better. So again, welcome. We are so excited that you are here with us today. And Orange County Public Schools is the 8th largest district in the nation, and we are the 4th largest in Florida. And we do serve nearly 215,000 students. And we are the 2nd largest employer in Central Florida after Disney, and we employ nearly 15,000 teachers and almost 24,000 employees. And sorry, technical difficulties with my screen. All right, so we want you to just take a moment to read that quote that is on the slide in that the 3rd slide of the Nearpod deck, and take a moment to just read that quote and just think about that. And we want you to think about the question of really, why do we need teacher evaluation? So thinking about why do we need teacher evaluation, On this slide of the Nearpod, this is a Collaborate board that we use to leverage collaboration in a lot of our learning. So thinking about the question, why do we need teacher evaluation? Take a moment to post your thoughts to this board. You can just simply type where it says share your thoughts and click post. You could even add images if you want to get creative, but if you could just share your thoughts using that about why do we need teacher evaluation? Yes, so many coming in, even being creative with the images. Yes, Angelica, we need it so that we can receive feedback and can improve our skills. Absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about really utilizing our framework as that vision of instruction for our district. And we do use that to improve our practice and move teacher practice forward to help student learning. So definitely on target there. Charlotte says we need teacher evaluation in order to make sure the teacher is up to standards. Yes, we definitely always want to be standard aligned in our instruction making sure that our students are meeting that level of thinking of our standards with our instruction. Absolutely. Yes, so many things here with we're sharing, receiving feedback. Absolutely. We definitely always use our framework to use that feedback to push teacher practice forward and again, align with our standards, improve quality of instruction. Yes, thank you all so much for sharing. You all have such good input. Getting the best instruction for teachers and able to learn and grow. Yes, thank you guys. We really appreciate your input. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit, again, our teachers really need a system that really first identifies and describes what effective teaching looks like. And we need that system to have a framework in place to give context to how teachers effectively plan and implement instruction to impact that student achievement that you all were actually pointing out in your posts. We also need a system that coaches them in increasing their expertise in specific areas and strategies of effective teaching and learning using that targeted and actionable and timely feedback that you all were lifting to the group here in your posts. And this growth feedback will help teachers to improve their practice and impact student achievement. But at the end of the day, we also need to be able to evaluate the effectiveness of our teachers' work. So if student achievement is directly related to effective instruction, then we must have that common understanding of effective instruction. So we're going to talk a little bit more about our purpose for tonight.
And so, yes, that led us right into our purpose and our goal for our time together. And we're really going to center around that common language of instruction that Orange County Public Schools uses. And even if you choose a district other than Orange County Schools, there will be similarities in the instructional practices that we go over today and your role, regardless of what district you're part of. So you're going to see some tie-ins no matter where you're practicing at. But first, we always like to get to know the people that we're hanging out with for an hour. And so we want to build a little community. And I'm not sure if you all know each other already, or if you might make some new friends in the room as well. But we're going to do a community builder called the 4 C's. And you're actually coming up going to be putting this on a draw it board. So there's going to be a collaboration piece to this where you're going to put some things up and we'll give you a chance to share or elaborate if you'd like to, but you're going to choose a cartoon character, a color, a car, and a cuisine that kind of describe you. So not necessarily your favorite thing. So I want a Ferrari for a car, but what car describes you? An example might be that maybe your car would be a Prius because you're really environmentally conscious, or your cuisine might be, maybe you're really into tacos because you're a little bit spicy. Something that describes you and that's gonna let us get to know you a little bit better. So we'll put a couple minutes on the clock and display the board for you to tell us about your 4 C's.
So as you do this, you will notice you'll have a toolbar there for you, and you can use either a text box or you can draw something for each of the boxes on the slide.
So all I have is a gray screen. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at.
You need to refresh. If you refresh your screen, you get the screen with 4 squares on it. I had the same issue.
Thank you all for helping troubleshoot with one another. We appreciate the tech savviness. Sometimes, yeah, it's a process of elimination to figure out which thing we need to do to get it to show up. All right, watching all of these responses coming in, these are awesome. See some similarities in our colors, and I'm sure some similarities across other ways as well. Are there a couple that might want to feel like they want to share out loud one of their C's?
I'll share. Are we doing it now or waiting?
Yeah, go for it. Is this Michelle?
Yes.
All right.
For my cuisine, I put a smoothie because I'm go with the flow. And since it's a liquid, it flows. And I am always on the run. So a smoothie is able to be consumed while on the run.
I love it. All right. Any others?
Well, I kind of went with what Michelle said, with go with the flow, but instead of it being a food, I chose a hippie van because I like to think I go with the flow. Sorry, my webcam is not on. I'm in the middle of doing other things.
So similar connection, just in a different category. Nice. All right, I see someone put sushi, and I don't want to put anyone on the spot, so if you don't want to share, but I was just curious, like, how would that describe you? Like, what is it about it in particular? I was just wondering. Anybody? No? All right, well. All right, I won't make anyone share who doesn't want to. I was just curious.
Actually, I'm the one that put that. I put it because it, like, you know, it kind of relates to like the ocean, and I find that to be really calming. So.
Oh, I love that connection. Yes, comes from the ocean, and the ocean can be peaceful serenity for some.
I like to share.
All right, is this Desi?
Yes. So for my car, I put a U-Haul because I like literally carry everything around with me. like
You've
instruments and
got
stuff.
everything with you on the go?
Yes, my backpack is so heavy.
Nice. Well, that's not good for your back, but nice that you always have what you need with you.
Yes, prepared.
Always prepared. Love it. Thank you for sharing.
I would like to share if that's okay.
Definitely.
My favorite cartoon character is Susie Carmichael from Rugrats because she's always she's just very wise for her age, and she always brings all the babies together. She has really good interpersonal skills. For car preferences, I like stick shift and cars that are environmentally friendly. My favorite color is sunflower yellow, or green, or purple.
A multitude of colors in the rainbow.
Yeah, and then as far as cuisine is concerned, I'm just happy if it's noodles. I don't care if it's Thai noodles, Japanese noodles, Chinese noodles. I'm just happy that it's Asian cuisine.
Thank you, Beatrice.
Thank you.
So we decided to start out with a community builder, get to know you all a little bit more. This also connects into, and you may be hearing this around in your classes, or if you're going to schools or participating in different functions at schools, but this will tie in, and we're going to connect to it later as we talk about social and emotional learning. So really building that community and building relationships can help facilitate the learning process as a whole. So we're going to connect to that again later as well. But thank you all for sharing. Loved getting to learn a little bit about each of you. So we're going to talk now, and connecting back to our purpose of talking about that common language, we're going to talk about the observation types that you would have in OCPS and something similar in other districts as well. But we implement this model as a means of teacher growth and to build expertise. So we do that through observations and feedback that occur throughout a school year. And it includes both evaluative and then also non-evaluative coaching observations. So the evaluations, so we have coaching observations that you'll have before you ever receive an evaluative observation. And then you'll have evaluative observations, but that doesn't mean that it puts an end to coaching. So you can have continuous coaching and support to have teacher growth and to work towards positively impacting students. So as part of the evaluative observations, there's the informal and the formal. So the informal is, as it sounds, a little bit less formal, and it's not as long in time, whereas the formal includes a pre-conference and then the actual classroom observation, as well as a post-conference. So all of those pieces are combined to make up our observation types. So for our next part of learning, we are going to give you an opportunity to annotate our learning map. But first, we wanted to share with you some of our common language on a key terms chart. So we're also going to post this in the chat box. And we'll give you each a moment to pull up the link to that if you so choose, and to look it over for a moment.
I think Kim lost her audio for a moment, or is it just me?
I don't hear her either.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just gonna pick up. I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to be talking over her. Okay, so as Kim was saying, yes, we are going to be utilizing some key vocabulary throughout our learning tonight to apply a common language of the instructional framework. So that way we do have a common language that we use when it comes to our vision of instruction as a school district. Like she said, we did post a link for those for you to access in the chat box, and they are displayed on the screen for you. So with that, we are going to take a look at the instructional framework learning map. And I think Kim's back with us, so she might pop on in.
Am I echoing or anything, or can you hear me?
You're good.
Anybody? Okay, thank you. All right, so this is the instructional framework learning map, and we're going to connect those key terms. If you saw the key terms chart, we're going to connect those to our learning map. So we're also going to post a link to this learning map so that you have a copy for yourself. If you have a way to digitally annotate the learning map, you can do so throughout this time, or you could take some notes, comment on comment on a document and go back to it, but we are going to digitally annotate as we go through this presentation. And you have the opportunity to do so as well, or whatever supports your learning style the best. But we wanted to go through and really discuss this common language of instruction. It's important that we have it so that we're all speaking the same language about what does quality instruction look like that's going to positively impact our students. So the first piece that we're going to talk through are our domains. So the domains are the first domain that we're going to talk through is classroom strategies and behaviors. And this has the closest relationship to student achievement because this is what's happening in the classroom. So if you're annotating your map, you're going to write the word domains on your digital copy and then circle or square off domain 1 in that upper left with that classroom strategies and behaviors. We're going to talk through some more domains though, so there are more to come on the back side of your learning map. So our next domain that we have showing for you is domain 4. And domain 4 is really that collegiality and professionalism. And this is what is happening with the adults on campus. So a question that you can ask yourself to kind of assess where are you at with domain 4 is how do I contribute to our school culture to support learning? So I'll give you a chance to jot that down on your learning map if you're annotating it. This is really how we promote a positive working and learning environment for all of the stakeholders on campus and promote exchanging ideas and strategies through collaboration with our peers and our colleagues. And it's also how we promote district and school development and adhere to our school and district initiatives. So you might be right now in your projects with classmates, engaging in teamwork and building professional learning communities in your school setting, and that directly correlates to this collegiality and professionalism. All right, so you'll also want to, domains is getting circled in blue, so you want to annotate that domain 4 as well. As we go through each of these domains, you can annotate for that. And with domain 3, the question that we ask ourselves to think about this is that we're reflecting on teaching in this piece. And so we say, what was successful and maybe what would I change next time? So this is where we reflect on our practice and identify areas of strength and weakness, and where do we think about where we want to grow. This will be rated during a post-conference. So you'll have this discussion with an administrator who comes into your classroom, but you get a chance before that to really reflect on your own and think about where am I at with this practice and what do I want to do to strengthen for the future. All right, and for domain 2, this is where you're planning and preparing. You're getting ready for the learning to occur. So you're thinking about, what do I need to do? What planning and prep is necessary for all of my students to learn? So this includes thinking about, what are you going to do to get them to learn, and how you're going to respond if they're not going through the content in the way that you intended. So what are your plans for that? It also can be how you're going to extend the learning, maybe enrich the learning for students who have demonstrated proficiency and need to be pushed a little bit further. But this is that point in the instruction where you're thinking about those pieces and planning them. You can also, this would be discussed as part of a pre-conference before a formal. So this might be a question that you can think about to prepare yourself before you go in to speak with your administrator about your instruction that they're about to come in to observe. So in thinking about these, so that domain 1 and then 2, 3, and 4, how do they summarize the role of a teacher? We're going to have a collaborate board up for you all to contribute to, and give you a chance to look at the learning map and really absorb it while you answer that question.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing. Remaining proactive in all aspects of the field to ensure professional growth. Yes, as we were saying, that really utilizing these domains to push our practice forward as teachers is really what we use this tool for, not just evaluating, but to push our practice forward. And we have more coming in. Yes, the 4 domains, yes, they do explain the roles and responsibilities of the teacher, and again, how we can push our practice forward. All of these summarize the role, providing a framework for which teachers can follow that keeps them on target for fostering positive school environment and accountable workspace. I see a lot of really promoting that positive school environment. And that is something that definitely also aligns with our social and emotional learning, and really contributing to that creating of a climate and culture, of a positive school climate and culture based off of our own teacher actions to then also reflect on the students and the community at large. Teachers are in a constant state of growth, and the domains show how they go about going through their responsibilities while growing. Yes, absolutely. So we look at our practice as teachers, the strategies that we implement, And then also then looking at our roles as professionals and growing professionally to, again, it all comes back to the students. How do we plan for students to reach academic success? How do we then reflect on our practice and use student data and student learning to then again push their academics forward in our own practice for success? So yeah, great input and great way to summarize those domains. Thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you for sharing. That's really to be able to connect those and to think about what does that mean for our practice as teachers. It's really awesome to see all of those connections made and to see you all really highlight the importance of each of those. We're going to hone in for this next part on that domain 1, the classroom strategies and behaviors, because there are some more pieces within that that contribute to our common language. So if you're not on that page, go ahead and access that front of your learning map to look at domain 1. And you'll notice that there are 3 lesson segments that organize the elements that we see during instruction. So everything on this front of the map is what's observable during instruction. And so these are lesson segments, and they have particular goals for the teacher and as well as the student. So the lesson segment involving routine events includes practices that engage in regularly and consistently setting the stage for learning to occur. When we're thinking about the lesson segment addressing content, this is how we take the content and the standards and provide opportunities for students to learn, practice, and then apply their learning. So this particular segment and its strategies are at the heart of teaching students how to think and how to learn. And then the lesson segment enacted on the spot provides a backdrop or that foundation for learning. Although it says enacted on the spot, they're not incidental. These are behaviors that teachers plan for in a purposeful and intentional way. So the lesson segment involving routine events and the lesson segment enacted on the spot work together to set the stage or that foundation for the learning to occur. Give you a chance to highlight. That's going to be lesson segments will be in yellow, and those are highlighted at the top. We also have on there our elements, which are, we kind of squared them off in green on ours. And so all of these elements are instructional practices that the teacher uses to achieve learning. So this is the area that has the direct effect on student achievement. And it's that classroom component of when you hear about a teacher observation or a teacher being observed, it's when the observer is coming in, they're looking at this. But we know that it's, you know, on the front end, when we talked about that planning and preparing, this is what's being planned for when you're planning for instruction. You're thinking about what strategies are necessary, and we use strategies and elements synonymously, but you're thinking about what strategies are necessary and are really going to impact students in a positive way. So there's a question posed on the screen. I'm going to give you a chance to read that. So we talked through our lesson segments, and why is it that what are your thoughts on why the routine events and enacted on the spot lesson segments are compared to pillars that hold up the lesson segment addressing content? And we will welcome, if you prefer a chat box response or you prefer to unmute, we welcome all input.
I believe, oh, hello?
Yes, go ahead, Desi.
Well, I believe that the lesson segment involving routine events and the enacted up on the spot, they're necessary in order to create a positive learning environment or just an environment to address content in general. You would need the left and the right in order to support even trying to attempt to address content.
Yes, definitely. We need to have, so that includes like our rules and procedures and our student engagement and our building of relationships. And those pieces are imperative if we want students to attain to the content that we're teaching them. We also have Joel sharing that they're important because they establish the routines and expectations and getting that engagement. Definitely. I think there might be one more person sharing. So, hi, Beatrice.
Hello, I'm going to try my best to answer the question because I feel like my eyes are all over the place right now. The reason why the lesson segment involving routine events works well alongside lesson segment enacted on the spot is because you can prepare on paper the goals, what you intend to do, and how you're going to assert yourself. But once you're on the spot, you know you're on the stage, and once you're on the stage, you need to be able to effectively work with students who have different learning capabilities and requirements, and just being as immersive as possible is key.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. So all of these components, all of them are truly necessary. And in order to really reach that down the middle of the map, which is our lesson segment addressing content, we need to be paying attention and attending to the needs of all of our students throughout our classroom. And that includes setting up those routines and procedures. That includes ensuring that we have engagement taking place and that we build relationships. And so we're going to actually elaborate on that a little bit. I did want to share, we had a couple more shares in the chat box, but yes, getting that, in order to attain to that content correctly, we need these two pillars. They support the learning to take place. It sets the stage. So it's those, you know, we have those two sides of pedagogy, and it's that we have set the conditions, and we've set the conditions so that students can learn, and then we have that content. So we have our two sides of pedagogy, and we're going to elaborate more as we talk a little bit through social and emotional learning together.
Yes, so as Kim was just saying, we really connect those pillars, as we refer to them, of that enacted on the spot and establishing classroom rules and procedures, and we really connect those to those social and emotional learning needs to really set the conditions for learning to then be able to address content and those pedagogical practices. So student social and emotional learning and well-being is at the forefront of education, and take a moment to review the Castle core competencies that are going to be linked in the chat box for you, and they're also they're displayed on the screen, but a little bit more in detail within the link. So just take a moment to look at those Castle core competencies of social and emotional learning. And as you are looking at the core competencies of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. You can see that it's really those intrapersonal skills to then have the interpersonal skills to then make those responsible decisions that we really focus on in order for students to learn and be cognitively engaged within instruction. And these, like we said, these SEL competencies really support instruction in that lesson segment addressing content, and they are the cognitive skills that are necessary to support that cognitive learning. So we're going to discuss the terms quantitative and cognitive further on the next slide here. And so, as you can see here, the cognitive and cognitive skills both really play that integral role in instruction. Cognitive skills are those that the students use to process and analyze and really utilize the content effectively and address complex problems and issues and really create patterns and mental models. And these cognitive skills are those skills that are really addressed throughout that domain 1 of that front of our learning map that we talked about earlier. And the cognitive skills are also addressed within our framework. Cognitive skills, these are the skills that allow a student to really examine his or her own knowledge and their emotions in order to choose an appropriate course of action. These interpersonal and intrapersonal skills involve really understanding and controlling oneself and understanding and interacting with others. So again, when we think of this, we think about students being able to really have self-awareness when they're working with others, or having that management to be able to self-manage themselves when engaging in those rules and procedures that the teacher might have established, to then engage in the learning of processing content or identifying critical content. So again, it's really those pillars that are the conditions for learning that hold up that are in place so that we can then address content in the middle of our learning map for those cognitive skills. So take a moment to circle the outside of your map in orange to annotate for those SEL core competencies. So you can see on the screen here, just take a moment to, if you're annotating digitally, to just circle those outside pillars in orange to represent those social and emotional learning core competencies. And again, we further annotated these on the screen to really show some examples of where some of those specific competencies are exhibited within strategies on the learning map, as really as that additional visual reference here. And again, as we said, they are the pillars that are setting those conditions for learning to support addressing those cognitive skills to address content in the classroom. And again, this is all in our domain 1 of classroom strategies and behaviors that has the most direct effect on student learning and student achievement. So within the lesson segment addressing content, there are 3 categories here. And as we go through each of these sections, if you're annotating on your map, you'll want to record the level of thinking that's required next to each of these sections and highlight them in pink to represent those levels of thinking. So you can see here that our first section of the lesson segment addressing content is helping students interact with new knowledge. And within this section, it really focuses on the recall and comprehension of thinking. So these strategies or elements, these are really strategies that are used to help students with comprehending and recalling information, and it's the foundation of the learning progression. And the desired effect of this section and the elements within is that students, again, comprehend the new content so they can really move forward with more complex thinking of analysis level and then knowledge utilization. The second section here in the middle is helping students practice and deepen knowledge. So first you set that foundation of learning, and then we move forward with that analysis level of thinking. And again, we always align these, we always pick these strategies to align with the levels of thinking of our standards. So what level of thinking is called for by our standards, and what strategies or elements are we going to use to help support students get to that level of thinking that's called for by the standard. So this middle of the map here is really helping students practice and deepen at that analysis level of thinking. And then it moves us into that knowledge utilization, which is helping students generate and test hypotheses. So if you look at that last section here, again, it is that gradual release. And this here is really the student and teacher's role is shifting over time. So we have students really becoming those really utilizing their knowledge, being able to interact with it, to using it to generate and test their hypotheses, versus before they're consuming their knowledge, now they're at that application level to apply that knowledge and justify their reasonings. So there is a progression in terms of cognition through the categories as students move from that comprehension level of thinking to that analysis level, and then to knowledge utilization level of thinking. And this progression of thinking really must build on the previous elements in order for students to be ready for the next level of complex thinking. And we do refer to that as that gradual release of responsibility. So students might need to preview content before they can then examine their, before they can then maybe elaborate on the content, and then examine similarities and differences, and then generate and test hypotheses. So it's that gradual release of that knowledge. So when we did begin, we did share our purpose of this session, and it was to really understand that common language of instruction. So as you do really complete your program and your courses and enter into the roles of education, knowing this common language of instruction will really help prepare you and give you a head start to being able to engage in teaching and learning with your administrators and your peers. So take a moment to reflect and think about how you might take this learning from today and apply it within your current coursework or with an internship as you prepare really for your role as a teacher, or as your role in education. So take a moment to just think about that question. And then if you would like to share, feel free to type in the chat box or share using your mic about really how will you apply this learning in your role with education.
All right, Michelle, thank Thank you for sharing. So yeah, we can never be too prepared. And, you know, we do need to think about our specific group of students and what are their needs as we going back to that planning and preparing. Good to keep in mind that instruction is the basis for all good teaching experiences, keeping these principles in mind, building a repertoire as a good teacher. And I would apply this to ensure being a reflective. So we plan and then we reflect on that planning. We might not always have, you know, when we're teaching, it's a constant learning process. We are teachers and we are also lifelong learners. So that reflective piece is definitely key to just accepting that, hey, you know what can I learn from this and what can I do better next time, and what should I keep doing next time that I'm nailing this particular thing. So how am I going to keep doing this next time? That's part of it too. What's going on behind the scenes of students' lives. So going back to those relationships and building in that social and emotional learning. And yeah, being someone who's there for students. And that's built into our learning map within our pillars as well, supporting those effective relationships. So thank you all for sharing.
Yes, thank you all so much for sharing. We really do appreciate you all taking the time to join us and engage with this learning tonight. We know that it can be a lot of information at once, and so we're excited though to share it with you and for you all to take those pieces back that you just shared with us and really help to utilize that as you go forward with your passion in education. And if you could, we do ask, there is a link, there's a tiny URL that's displayed on the screen, and we are also putting that in the chat box for you. But if you could take a moment to just complete that survey, and there should be an option there for you to select the session for UCF presentation. Our contact information is also on the screen. We really use these surveys. We value your feedback, as we just talked about. We really use feedback to really help develop our future sessions and improve our own practice. So please make sure that you complete that survey for us, and please reach out to us with any questions that you have regarding the presentation or about OCPS or our vision of instruction with evaluations. And other than that, we really appreciate your time and we enjoyed spending this with you. We will be around here for a couple of minutes if you have any questions for us. But other than that, we just ask that you complete the survey, and we thank you so much for your time, and we hope you all have a great rest of your evening.
So I just dropped 2 other links in the chat, one of which is for our website for SNEA in case anyone wanted to check it out and learn more about us, and also the form to get your certificate of attendance. So when it asks for the title, it is Building Teacher Expertise. So if you are needing that, please do not forget to fill that out.
And we are also working to adjust the Google form. It's not allowing you all to access. So looking into that. Oh, Stephanie said, go ahead and try it again now. It should be working. Thanks, Michelle, for letting us know. Awesome. Okay, so the form is up and working, and we appreciate any input and your feedback. And thank you for taking the time to spend with us tonight. It was awesome to get to know you all a little bit better and to have some discussion around instruction. Wherever you all end up, we hope you end up with OCPS, but wherever you end up, we're excited that you're joining education. Have a great night.